Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. And today, got a special midweek box office prediction for you because today we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Rebirth. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Okay, Jurassic World slash Jurassic Park. This series has been around for over 30 years, so we gotta talk about all of them. So let's start with the original, the OG, Jurassic Park from 1993, directed by the one and only Steven Spielberg. So yeah, Jurassic Park, I don't think I need to go into much detail about this movie and its legacy because it's been talked about ad nauseum. The whole gist of the movie is that, humanity, or I guess, scientists, they're like, you know what, let's bring back dinosaurs. And you know what, let's make a whole amusement park, whole attraction centered around dinosaurs. But fortunately, shit goes wrong, and that leads to the rest of the series. It all starts here. But yeah, Jurassic Park. I mean, this was the biggest hit of 1993. One of those movies that defined the summer blockbuster, revolutionized visual effects, spawned quite a few iconic memes. It made dinosaurs hella cool. Blah blah blah. You all know this. And it made $1 billion thanks to like a big re-release in 2013 for its like 20th anniversary. But yeah, Jurassic Park, it speaks for itself. Like, it really does. And now we talk about the others. So, obviously, with Jurassic Park being the success that it was, more was going to come, right? Which would lead to The Lost World Jurassic Park in 1997, which, although it did have the biggest opening weekend ever, well, actually, the original did as well, but Lost World had opened with like 72 million, which in this day and age doesn't seem like a lot. But keep in mind, this is the 90s, so standards were a whole lot lower back then when it comes to box office. Like the $1 billion movie had yet to exist yet. It wouldn't exist until later in 1997 with Titanic. But anywho, despite having a big opening weekend, it did not have the staying power as the first movie. Ended up doing a whole lot worse, but it still made money at the end of the day, so that's all Universal cares about. And so because Lost World still made money, led to Jurassic Park 3 in 2001. And boy, this movie was a mistake from like both a box office perspective and a quality perspective. But box office wise, it did quite a bit worse than Lost World, only making like over 365 million worldwide. Big drop off from the Lost World's like 600 million. And because of said drop off, it caused the series to be put on ice for over a decade. Like Jurassic Park 4 was in development hell for quite a while until they eventually figured out what to do, which led to Jurassic World here in 2015. So with this, it was not really a sequel, but not really a reboot. It was more of a legacy sequel. That's the official term, where, everything that happened in the previous movies, it still exists. But now we have, new plot, new cast, new location. It's a fresh start. It's basically hitting the reset button without going full reboot. And that's what this is. And when this was coming out in 2015, I mean, I figured it would do all right. Jurassic Park's as popular as it is. Thought it would do like solid numbers. I never would have guessed that this movie would have the biggest opening weekend ever at the time. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. But that's what happened. This opened over 208 million. It made more in 3 days than Jurassic Park 3 made total. Like, no one saw that coming. Everyone assumed Avengers Age of Ultron would be, the biggest movie of summer 2015. People thought that was a given. I thought that was a given, but that's not what happened at all. So yeah, and not only did this have the biggest opening weekend of 2015, well, biggest opening of all time in 2015, also had the biggest second weekend ever in 2015. Keep in mind, both of these records were beaten literally 6 months later by Force Awakens. So just wanted to point that out. But still, like 106 million its second weekend. Some people probably thought it would have made that much its first weekend. So yeah, Jurassic World, it went crazy at the box office. Ended up making almost 1.7 billion. Like that's incredible. That's a hell of a comeback for this series. So naturally, Universal saw gold and they wanted to make more movies, which resulted in Fallen Kingdom in 2018. And this movie, despite opening literally a week after Incredibles 2, it still did hella well for itself, even though it did quite a bit worse than the Jurassic World, but everyone expected that. No one expected this to repeat Jurassic World success, but still did very well. Opened to 148 million, it made 417 million domestically, 1.3 billion worldwide. I mean, that's a you know obvious success right here. And just to show you just how crazy June 2018 was. Okay, so this is June 15th. This is the previous weekend. 182 million. The next weekend, 148 million. Back to back weekends like that, that's not normal. That doesn't just happen, especially with these type of numbers. That's only happened like one other time in history, and that was in May of 2007, where you had like that whole month, you had like the trilogy, like the holy trifecta of big blockbuster movies. You had Spider-Man 3, you had Shrek the Third, you had Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, all made over 100, open with 100 million each, with Shrek the Third and at World's End doing it back to back. So yeah, and like 2018, that was the only other time that's happened. That's not happened since. I'm not sure if it'll even happen again because I guess it's just a little too risky. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out because that's just some crazy numbers going on. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, Fallen Kingdom made money. So what do? You make another one. Enter Dominion in 2022. And boy, this tagline right here is aged so poorly. The epic conclusion of the Jurassic era. Yeah. Yeah, okay, sure. So yeah. This came out in 2022. It did worse than Fallen Kingdom, but it still made $1 billion. So Universal, they're not about to cry about that. And this is despite the fact that this movie was critically just trashed. People hated this thing. Although personally, I think Fallen Kingdom is a worse movie, but that's me. That's just me talking. But still, this opened for 145 million domestically, made 376 million domestically, a billion worldwide. So yeah. And now we enter Rebirth, which has come out only 3 years later. You think they would have waited a little while longer, at least waited like 10 years or something like that. But no, they just refused to wait. They're like, no, we need another one, and we need another one now. And here we are with another one. So yeah, the Jurassic series, the park movies and the world movies, they all have made money, some more than others. But there's very much an audience for a big, blockbuster dino movie. Like that is very much apparent. So, yeah, the box office success of all the Jurassic movies, not to mention brand name recognition, that's a pro right there. So that's pro number 1/2. Next pro is that this is, 4th of July weekend is historically like a big weekend at the box office because that's when like studios like to put out like really big blockbusters usually sometimes. But like when they do, like, then it means that they they mean business. Like they're not like messing around. They're not like taking the holiday for granted. And I gotta find like a list of like big Fourth of July movies. I know. Oh yes, perfect. Far From Home. That's one of them. But if it can just like load, that would be nice. God damn it! Like why? Okay, here we go. Got it in the end. So I gotta like scroll. Independence Day. Where are you? Okay, all movies. Okay, some of these I'm not gonna count because they came out after the holiday was over, so got to disqualify them. I'm only gonna pick the ones that count here. Yeah, movies like Minions: Rise of Gru, Transformers: Dark of the Moon, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Spider-Man 2, Despicable Me 2, Despicable Me 4, Transformers 1, World of Worlds, Twilight Saga: Eclipse, Hancock, Men in Black 2, Men in Black 1, Independence Day. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, success regarding, the Independence Day. Not really weekends, more like the span of time. Like, it depends. It very much depends on where Independence Day like falls on the calendar, like what day it falls on the calendar. But yeah, Fourth of July is historically considered like a boon for the box office, but it's only really when it's on a weekday between like Monday through Thursday. When it's on a weekday like that, that's fine. That means every movie's gonna succeed, or at least get a boost. But that's not really happening this weekend, and I will explain. That's going to be a con. I'll explain why that is later. But yeah, Fourth of July as a whole, I mean, it's a big box office weekend. So yeah, that's a pro. Another pro, in terms of like competition as of like this weekend, all this movie really has to go up against in terms of like serious competition is F1. That's really it. Everything else is kind of old or just a flop. So yeah. Yeah, I don't think Megan 2.0 is gonna make any real dent into this movie's box office. Like, yeah, no. So really, this movie only has to deal with F1. Besides that, I mean, well, this movie was guaranteed to win the weekend anyway. So yeah, competition isn't like super fierce, not yet though. But yeah, competition right now, as of like this weekend, is nothing too serious besides F1. So I'll label that as a pro. Trying to think of some other pros. I guess I could talk about the cast here. Might as well. We got three main actors. First, we have Mahershala Ali. The man who's supposed to be the MCU Blade, but that's yet to happen, even though it's literally been 6 fucking years since they made that announcement at Comic-Con. And look, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, what a disaster that project is. Anywho, yeah, Mahershala Ali has been around for a bit. He was, remember him seeing him in the Hunger Games movies, the Mockingjay movies. Moonlight, that's where he won the Oscar. I think he won it twice. Did he? I think he did. But I'm gonna be sure about that. I'm pretty sure he won it twice. Mahershala Ali. Let me see. Yeah, he's won it twice. He won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for both Moonlight and Green Book. So, yeah, it's definitely something that he can absolutely flex about. So, yeah, it's 2 Oscars to his name, not just one. Yeah, so he has those 2 movies under his belt. Movies that found audiences. He voiced Uncle Aaron in Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. He's a lead a Battle Angel, which did all right. Hasn't been anything really since, but obviously he's been like, TV as well. I'm looking at his like Wikipedia page, and he was in True Detective, and he was, Cottonmouth in the Luke Cage Netflix series. So people know who Mahershala Ali is. So he's very recognizable. So that's a pro. Then we got Scarlett Johansson, who has like the biggest box office track record out of like anyone in this cast. By far and away. Because, she's the former Black Widow in the MCU. But besides that, oh God, I still remember her in Home Alone 3. But yeah, after that, there's, in terms of notable movies, there's Lost in Translation. She voiced Minnie in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Let's scroll. I guess there's The Prestige. He's just an indie. That's like a big ensemble movie, but Iron Man 2, that was her first appearance as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. And then her career has never been the same after that. But in terms of like other notable movies, I guess there's like We Bought a Zoo, but that's more like a Matt Damon flick. I guess there's Don John, I guess. Lucy was a big one. And that was like mainly her. And it did great. It made people want a Black Widow movie so bad. We got it, several years too late, but we still got it in the end. But yeah, you can notice all the MCU movies. She's had some duds, like Ghost in the Shell. That movie was a mistake. And Rough Night, same thing with that. You can see there's like Endgame and then Black Widow. And she was just in Phoenician Scheme. But yeah, I mean, she is very recognizable. Like, obviously, that goes without question. And then our third main guy, Jonathan Bailey. Okay, he was just in Wicked. Okay. And he's about to be in Wicked for good. Because that's good to know. Obviously, Wicked was one of the big movies of last year. But it doesn't have like a whole lot of, I guess, like exposure compared to like Mahershala and ScarJo. But still, we got some recognizable faces in here, so that's obviously a pro. But who's even direct? Gareth Edwards. I guess I can talk about him. He responsible for 2014 Godzilla, a movie that was very divisive. I liked it, but some people didn't. But it was still a hit, though, which would lead to him making Rogue One, although one could argue Tony Gilroy is mainly the reason why that movie turned out to be as good as it was, considering the quality of Andor, later on. That's a show I need to watch badly. I've been meaning to watch Andor ever since like season 2 dropped like several months ago. I will watch it because I feel like that's a show I need to watch like real bad. And then last year, well, not even last year, 2 years ago, he made The Creator, which was a bit of a dud financially. But I mean, man has a Godzilla and a Star Wars movie to his name, so I guess that's a good thing. So I guess that's a pro. Any other pros? I think I mentioned all the important facts. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it with pros. Okay, cons. Okay, quality. This movie, when it comes to quality, it's not great. It has a 54% critic score, which even that's a big step up from Dominion. I think that was like a 20 something. I have to check though. I'm pretty sure it was like a 28 or 29. Jurassic World. Yeah, okay. Dominion. Yeah, 29%. Big yikes. So a 50 something percent it's a big step up. That doesn't mean it's good though. But it's definitely an improvement. But that's not really the issue here. A movie like with a score like that, like a 50 some percent, that's whatever. What's more concerning is the audience reception. Because the audience score I see is a 75%. And that's really low for a movie like this. You would expect like a big blockbuster esque movie, like to be like this big crowd pleaser, have like a high 90, audience score. That's what F1 has. You'd expect the same for this, but no. 75% audience score, and its cinema score is a B. That is a score you don't want for a movie like this. Like, I mean, for example, uh, other movies I can think of off the top of my head. The Flash 2 years ago, that got a B, and we all know what happened with that movie. um, The Marvels 2023, that got a B. Don't need to explain that movie's disastrous run. I'm trying to think of some other big movies that had like B cinema scores off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've really looked. Uh, Darn. I'm trying to think, but even like compared to like other Jurassic movies, the only Jurassic movie that had a worse cinema score is the third one. Jurassic Park 3. Every other one has been a B plus or higher. So that tells you a lot right there. And this Jurassic Park 3, that had the infamous, Alan scene where you had the talking dino. Completely just a total jump in the shark moment right there. So people aren't really digging this movie compared to other Jurassic movies, and that's a huge issue. And that could really negatively affect its legs. So yeah, lackluster audience reception, just lackluster reception in general. I will label that as a con. Another con, I mentioned 4th of July, big weekend, big box office weekend. I'd mentioned how like when it's on a weekend, no, a weekday, Monday through Thursday, it's fine. When it's on a weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's bad. Like it's detrimental to the box office. And this year it's on a Friday, and that means Friday it's gonna suck because like on 4th of July, like most people are like hanging out with the family, having a barbecue, setting off fireworks, and not going to the theater because no one goes to the theater on 4th of July, especially when it's on a weekend. So yeah, that means Friday is gonna suffer quite a bit because of that. But at least it's on a Friday. When it's on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's even worse. It's a whole lot worse. The box office takes a nosedive those days. But when it's on a Friday, it's not as bad, but it's still bad. So yeah, that Friday, that's gonna be a problem for all movies. So that's a con right there. Another con is that, just the Jurassic series in general. Most people believe after the first movie, it was all downhill. Like the first movie was like this great, great movie, and no Jurassic movie since has been able to recapture that. And yeah, that's basically what's been going on. No, none of these movies have been able to match the acclaim the first movie had. Like, not even Steven Spielberg himself could do it with Lost World. So, what does that tell you? So it's kind of like Terminator in a way, where like any Terminator movie that's not called Terminator or Terminator 2 Judgment Day is considered to be lesser, like a lesser than, in terms of quality, in terms of all of them. Like they're all considered like inferior. So it's a similar. So Jurassic World slash Park is in a similar boat to Terminator, except people are willing to watch these Jurassic movies, while Terminator, that series died a horrible death with Dark Fate. But Yeah, it's still a problem from a perception standpoint. It doesn't help with this movie. People are just like, why? Why does this exist? This is clearly just a cash grab, and it's a very, it's just a movie that just exists to make money. And that's how people view it. And that's what it is. Like it's more blatant than like others. So yeah, the critical reception of like Jurassic Park movies after the first one, like that's a problem. That's a problem right there. So that's a con. Another con is that next week we got James Gunn's Superman coming out, and we have two big blockbusters in like close proximity to each other. Historically, the older one gets hurt, while the newer one thrives. That's how it generally works. So yeah, Superman is gonna take a bite out of Jurassic World Rebirth's box office next week. So yeah, this movie has basically a week max, really like a week and 2 days to make as much money as it can before Superman comes in and then takes over the box office. So yeah, incoming blockbuster competition next week with Superman. That's a con, that big old con right there. And are there any other cons? I think I mentioned all the important parts. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Opening weekend, we gotta do 3 day and 5 day because holiday. This didn't have Tuesday previews, so it's opening day numbers. That's like raw gross. Like it's like straight up from Wednesday. I read it's made 28 million. At least this is what it's looking like right now. I don't know if it's been updated or not, but expected to hit like 28 million on Wednesday, which isn't like bad. I mean, it's not incredible, but it's not bad for like midweek. I mean, that's comparable to like Despicable Me 4 last year. So yeah, 28 million for Wednesday, and then apparently it's gonna open 128 million for the 5 day. Like how it does is really it really depends on what happens on 4th of July, that Friday. If it just like flatlines or if it just like like the slightest increase that day, like that will determine this movie's fate, for the 5 day frame. But I don't know. I guess I'll just stick with what Deadline's saying, but I guess I'll have more of a range though. um. Okay. I guess I'll go with 75 million to 80 million for 3 day, and then for the 5 day, 125 to 130 million for the 5 day. And then it's total. I mean, mixed reception plus Superman might kill its legs, but I won't be sure until like I see the second weekend results. But I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have a wide range. 250 to 350 million, like somewhere within that ballpark. That's where Jurassic World Rebirth is gonna land. Probably close to the higher range. Maybe 300 million to 350. I'm gonna go with that. That's my final number. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna stick with. And that's it. Yep, this is the only movie coming out for 4th of July. That's it. No, nothing else. And next weekend, guess what? Only one movie to talk about. I know, crazy, right? Superman, James Gunn's Superman, a movie I am very much looking forward to not only watch, but talk about as well, because there's quite a bit to discuss with that movie, considering this is the movie that's supposed to, it be the new like DCU, start that series, hopefully on like a good note. At least with the movies, even though it technically started already with Creature Commandos. But in terms of movies, this is the first one. So we'll see how that does next week. So yeah, stay tuned for that video when it happens. But Yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year or the past few years. You want to watch any of them, go right ahead. There's also the Cancel series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Jurassic World Rebirth. Where is it? Okay. It was episode 231. It didn't have a title yet, so I just called it Jurassic World Reboot. And even the title, I'm just like, why? Um, and I said, Universal just refuses to let this series die, and that's a fact. That's a certified fact right there. But yeah, episode 231. That's where I talked about this movie getting its 2015 release date. And so you want to watch that episode or any other episodes I've made, all 250 of them. You want to binge watch that whole series from beginning to end. I highly suggest you do that, so go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. June recap, that'll be next weekend. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.